For 5 years now, one woman has been talking about Meghan, not occasionally, not in passing. Constantly, book after book, interview after interview, video after video, a steady stream of claims about the Duchess of Sussex.
It won't cramp your style when we talk about Meghan. So let's get straight to it.
That has run without pause for half a decade. Some of it measured, some of it extraordinary. All of it delivered with the absolute confidence of a woman who is quite certain she knows things the rest of us don't. Her name is Lady Colin Campbell, and here's the detail that ought to make you sit up before we go a single step further. In all that time, 5 years of claims, some of them about the most private and serious matters imaginable, Meghan and Harry have never once answered her. Not a statement, not a correction, not a lawsuit, not one public word. This aristocrat has said things that would send most people straight to their lawyers, and the Sussexes have responded with complete, unbroken silence. Now that silence is a story in itself, and we'll come to what's really behind it, because it's cleverer than it looks. But it also creates a problem, and it's the problem I want to solve for you today. Because when nobody ever answers, nothing ever gets sorted. The claims just pile up, one on top of another, true and false and unprovable, all mixed together in one great heap, until you genuinely cannot tell which is which. And that's exactly how these videos end up with titles like 10 Secrets Meghan Never Wanted Out. Everything thrown in together. No one stopping to ask which of it actually holds up. So that's what this video is. Not a pile-on, I'm not here to kick a couple who are down. And not a defense either. I'm not here to wave it all away. This is a sorting. We are going to take Lady C's most famous claims about Meghan, and we are going to place each one where it honestly belongs because they do not all belong in the same place. Not even close. Some of her claims are on the record, made under her own name, in her own book on national radio. And while you may not be able to prove them, you can at least weigh them. Some are pure rumor, passed to her by people she won't name. Impossible for anyone to check. And some, including one of the biggest and most shocking of them all, have been flatly contradicted by an official document that anyone in the world can look up. That document is the one I most want you to see, because it settles the single most serious claim ever made against Meghan, once and for all. I'll show it to you before we're done. A quick word first. I don't deal in invented drama. There's a great deal of that about, and you deserve better. What I do is take these stories and hold them up to the light so that you can see clearly what's solid, what's shaky, and what simply isn't true. If that's the kind of steady, honest, royal coverage you've been looking for, do subscribe, and stay with me to the end, because the sorting only makes sense once you've seen all three piles. So let's begin where we should, with the woman herself. Because to weigh what someone says, you first have to understand who they are. If you're going to weigh what a person says, the first question is always the same. Who are they? What do they actually know? Are they a serious voice, or just someone shouting from the sidelines? And with Lady Colin Campbell, the honest answer is, she is not a nobody. That's precisely why she's worth taking seriously enough to sort. Let me give you the real background. Lady Colin Campbell, Lady C, as she's widely known, is a British writer and biographer, born in Jamaica, connected to the British aristocracy through both ancestry and marriage. That title of hers is a real one. She moves, or has moved, in circles that touch the edges of the world she writes about. She is not an outsider inventing palace gossip from a bedroom. She is a woman with genuine social proximity to the British establishment. And she has written a great deal. 7 unauthorized books about the royal family, by the count that follows her around, and not obscure ones. One of them was a New York Times bestseller. Her biography of Princess Diana, The Real Diana, earned her a serious reputation. The magazine People once called her work the most believable of the Diana biographies. Now think about what that means. At a time when 100 people were writing about Diana, hers was the account that a major publication singled out as the one to trust. That is not nothing. That is a track record. Then, in more recent years, came the book at the center of all this, Meghan and Harry, The Real Story. And this one did well too, a Wall Street Journal bestseller. It was billed as a behind-the-scenes, authoritative account of the couple's marriage. And to write it, she says, she spoke to friends, relations, courtiers, and colleagues on both sides of the Atlantic, in Britain and in America. Its central argument, which we'll come back to, was that this was the most unexpected royal story since the abdication of Edward VIII. So when Lady C speaks, she does so with a real pedigree behind her. A published best-selling biographer with decades of writing about this family and claimed sources inside the world she covers. That is why her claims travel. That is why they end up in a dozen videos. It's not because she's loud, it's because she has standing. But, and here's where it gets interesting, and why this woman is harder to pin down than her critics allow. She is not the simple villain of the Sussex story that some people paint her as. Because for all her criticism of Meghan, Lady C has said more than once and plainly that she is rooting for her. Those are close to her own words. She has said she still sees that because of Meghan's natural gifts. The Duchess could do a great deal of good for people all over the world if she got her act together. She has said she tries not to show the couple at their worst, but to show what their possibilities were and still could be. Now, you can believe that or doubt it as you please, but it complicates the picture, doesn't it? This isn't a woman with a simple grudge, screaming that Meghan is a monster. This is someone who criticizes sharply, claims inside knowledge, and yet insists she wants the woman to succeed. That contradiction is worth holding in your mind as we go, because a source who is all venom is easy to dismiss, and Lady C is not that. She's something more slippery and more interesting. So that's who's making the claims. A real biographer, with a real record, real proximity, and a genuinely mixed attitude to her subject, which means the claims themselves deserve a proper hearing. So let's open the first pile, the one with the strongest ground under it. The claims that come with receipts. Let's start with the pile that has the firmest ground beneath it. The claims Lady C has made under her own name, on the record, in her book, in broadcast interviews, the ones you can actually weigh, even if you can't finally prove them. And the first, and perhaps the most striking, is this. Lady C has claimed that Meghan set out deliberately to become the most famous person on Earth. Not as a throwaway line, as a stated policy. She made this claim in an interview with Graham Norton, on his BBC radio show, speaking under her own name on national airwaves. She alleged that Meghan had instructed her PR people in so many words that they were to make her into the most famous person on the planet. And Lady C's phrase for it was memorable. She called it a very deliberate policy, not an accident of celebrity, not fame that simply happened, a plan. Now I want to be scrupulously fair here, because that's the whole point of this exercise. This is a claim. Lady C was not in the room. She is reporting what she says she learned. You cannot prove it, and neither can she. Not to the standard of a courtroom, but notice what makes it different from gossip. She said it openly, on the BBC, attaching her own name and reputation to it. That is a person putting themselves on the line. It's the kind of claim you can weigh, against what you know, against how events actually unfolded. And here's the uncomfortable thing for Meghan's defenders. When you set that claim beside the record, it doesn't look absurd. Whatever the truth of the private instruction, the public result is hard to argue with. The couple did leave. They did sign enormous commercial deals. Meghan has, by any measure, become one of the most famous women alive. The claim fits the shape of what happened, and a claim that fits the shape of events earns a place in the arguable pile, not the bin. The second claim in this pile runs alongside the first. Lady C has alleged that, while still within the royal family, the couple were getting up to things they were strictly forbidden to do as royals, meddling, as she put it, in commercial enterprises and in politics. And she was careful about how she apportioned it. Her phrase was telling mostly Meghan, but with Harry's connivance. She wasn't painting Harry as innocent. She was describing, as she saw it, a partnership, one driving, one going along with it. Again, a claim, not a proof. But again, one that sits within the realm of the plausible. Because the tension between the Sussexes' ambitions and the strict rules of royal life is not something Lady C invented. It is, by every serious account, close to the heart of why they left. And that brings us to the third and largest claim in this pile, the thesis of her whole book. Lady C's argument in Meghan and Harry, the real story, was that the couple tried to change the royal system, tried to bend it to fit their own needs and their own ambitions. And when they found that it would not bend, when the old machine simply refused to reshape itself around them, they did the only thing left to them. They walked away and built a new system of their own, in California, on their own terms. Now that is an interpretation, but it is a coherent one, argued at book length, and it happens to describe in broad strokes exactly what we all watched happen. They tried. It didn't work. They left and built something new. So that's the first pile, 3 substantial claims: the fame policy, the forbidden activities, the failed attempt to remake the monarchy, none of them proven, all of them on the record under her name and broadly consistent with the events the whole world witnessed. This is the pile that deserves a serious hearing. Keep it in mind, because the next pile is a very different thing altogether. Here, the ground gets much softer. Now the ground changes under our feet, because everything in the first pile, whatever else you thought of it, had one thing in common. Lady C put her own name to it. She said it herself, from her own knowledge, out loud, in public. This next pile is different. And the difference is the single most important thing I can teach you about weighing any story, royal or otherwise. In this pile, Lady C is no longer the source. Somebody else is, somebody she won't name. Let me give you the clearest recent example. Not long ago, Lady C appeared on her own YouTube channel, in a question and answer session with her subscribers, and shared a fresh set of claims, this time about Meghan and her mother, Doria Ragland. And where did these claims come from? By Lady C's own account, from an anonymous individual. An unnamed person, she said, who had been acquainted with the Markle family during Meghan's early life, and who had apparently disclosed a great deal about Meghan and her mother's relationship. She suggested more details would follow. Now stop, and let's do the thing that this whole video is really about. Let's ask the question that every sensible person your age has been asking their whole life, long before the internet existed. How does she know that? The answer in this case is that she doesn't, not firsthand. She is passing along what an unnamed person told her, and I want to be completely clear and fair, that does not automatically make it false. Anonymous sources are a real part of journalism. Sometimes the person who won't be named is telling the exact truth and has good reasons for staying hidden. So I'm not telling you these claims are lies. I have no way of knowing that, and neither does anyone else. But that is precisely the point. Neither does anyone else. Think about the difference between the two piles. In the first pile, a named author staked her own reputation on a claim, on the BBC, in her own book. If she's wrong, it costs her something. You can weigh that. But in this second pile, an unnamed person who risks nothing, who can never be checked, who might have any motive under the sun, a grudge, a fantasy, a wish to be important for an afternoon, whispers something into the story, and it can never be tested by anyone. You have known this distinction your whole life. It's the difference between a neighbor telling you something to your face, willing to be quoted, and a note slipped under the door with no name on it. You would treat those two things completely differently in your own life, and you should treat them completely differently here. This is also why these claims tend to arrive the way they do, in a subscriber Q&A, in a live stream, in a video, rather than in a carefully lawyered book. The published book is checked. It has editors and publishers and lawyers who ask, "Can we prove this?" The casual video has none of that. It's just words, spoken, floating out into the world. And words with no name attached and no way to check them are not evidence. They are rumor. However confidently they're delivered, and Lady C is nothing if not confident. Rumor is all they are until something solid stands behind them. So into the second pile they go, not branded as lies. Simply filed where unproven, uncheckable, anonymously sourced claims belong, in the pile you hold at arm's length and do not repeat as fact. And now we come to the third pile, the most serious one, because there is a difference between a claim you can't prove and a claim that has actually been disproven, contradicted in black and white by an official document. And the biggest, most shocking claim ever attached to Meghan's name belongs, I'm sorry to say for those who've spread it, in exactly that pile. Let me show you the document. Here is the most serious claim ever made about Meghan Markle, and I want to handle it carefully, because it's a grave one, and because getting it right is the whole reason a video like this matters. The claim is this, that Meghan never gave birth to her children at all, that Archie and Lilibet were born to a surrogate, and that Meghan is not their biological mother. Lady C has advanced versions of this for years, and it flared up again recently. Dressed up in especially dramatic clothing, she cited what she described as unnamed sources with official links at governmental level in the United States, who supposedly told her that Lilibet had been born to a surrogate before being flown to California. Now, that is about as serious as an allegation about a person can get. It doesn't just accuse Meghan of vanity or ambition, it accuses her of an elaborate, years-long deception about the very existence of her own children. If it were true, it would be one of the great royal frauds in history. So it deserves the most careful test of all. Not outrage, not applause, a test. And here, for once, we are not stuck with claim against claim, because this is one of the rare cases where an actual official document exists. And the document speaks plainly, the birth certificates. Both children have official birth certificates. Archie's records his birth in London in May of 2019. Lilibet's records her birth in Santa Barbara, California in June of 2021. And on both of those official documents, the legal records of these children's births, Meghan is named as the mother, not a surrogate. Meghan, that is not a rumor, that is not an anonymous whisper. That is the paperwork, filed with the authorities in 2 different countries on 2 separate occasions, and it directly contradicts the claim. When independent fact-checkers looked into the surrogacy allegation, that is exactly what they found. The birth certificates naming Meghan as the mother, and no evidence whatsoever to support the surrogacy story, none. So into the third pile it goes. Not the arguable pile, not even the we can't check it pile. This one lands in the pile marked contradicted by the record, because we can check it. And when we do, the document wins. That's the principle I most want you to carry out of this video, and it's a principle that has served sensible people for a very long time. When a spoken claim collides with an official document, the document wins, not because documents are magical, but because a claim costs the speaker nothing, while a birth certificate is a legal record, filed at the time by the authorities, with consequences for anyone who falsifies it. One is air, the other is on the books. And notice the more shocking a claim is, the more proof it should require. not less. That's the exact opposite of how these things usually travel online, where the wildest claim spreads fastest precisely because it's the most exciting. But you and I know better. An extraordinary claim that a woman faked the births of 2 children now in the line of succession would need extraordinary evidence. And what's actually on offer is the reverse. Unnamed sources on one side and official birth certificates from 2 countries on the other. I'll say one more thing, and I'll say it plainly, because it matters. The same recent wave of claims included a story that Harry is in love with another woman, and that too has been examined and found to be unproven. There is, as the reporting put it flatly, no truth to the rumors, and the couple remain united. Into the pile it goes with the rest. I'm not telling you any of this to score a point against Lady C. I'm telling you because the whole value of sorting is that it works in every direction. It lets some claims stand, sends others to arm's length, and throws the disproven ones out entirely. That last pile is where the channel earns your trust. Because anyone can repeat a shocking story. It takes a little more care to check it against the record and tell you honestly what you find. Which leaves one question we've been circling the whole time. If these claims are out there, the arguable, the unprovable, and the plainly disproven all mixed together, why have Meghan and Harry never once said a word to sort them out themselves? The answer is cleverer than you'd think. So here's the puzzle. For 5 years, these claims have circulated. Some of them, as we've just seen, are as serious as an allegation can be. And in all that time, Meghan and Harry have said nothing. No lawsuit, no statement, no rebuttal. They have, by every account, studiously ignored Lady C for the entire time. Most people's instinct, faced with that silence, is to read it one way. If they haven't denied it, maybe there's something to it, and I understand why the mind goes there. But I gently suggest that instinct is wrong here, because when you understand the position the Sussexes are actually in, the silence stops looking like guilt and starts looking like strategy, possibly rather shrewd strategy. Let me walk you through it, because it's genuinely interesting. The first reason is the oldest rule in dealing with this sort of thing. Engaging elevates it. The moment Meghan issues a formal denial of the surrogacy claim, what happens? Every newspaper on earth runs the headline. Meghan denies she faked her pregnancies. And suddenly a claim that lived in the corners of the internet is on the front pages, repeated to millions who'd never heard it. A denial doesn't kill a rumor. It introduces it to a bigger audience. The very act of swatting the fly draws every eye to the fly. And the people who advise the Sussexes know that perfectly well. The second reason is about who you choose to fight. Royals, as a rule, do not sue commentators. It's beneath the position, and it's a fight with no good end. Even a win looks like a powerful couple crushing an individual author, and a loss is catastrophic. Now, I should be fair and note, there's a real tension here, because there are reports from inside their circle suggesting Meghan has at times wanted to fight back, that the claims distress her, and her instinct is to take them on. But the same reports suggest Harry has been the one counseling restraint, reminding her that it is not usually the royal way to take legal action against this kind of low-level gossip. And that reluctance is doubled right now for a reason that ties into everything else happening with this family. Because the Sussexes are, by all accounts, trying to rebuild, trying to get back into the good graces of Harry's father. And a very public, aggressive legal war against a royal commentator is precisely the kind of noise and drama that works against a quiet reconciliation. If your aim is to be welcomed gently back through a door, you do not start a brawl on the doorstep. Silence serves the larger goal. So put those together. Engaging elevates the claim. Royals don't sue commentators, and a fight would sabotage the reconciliation they're seeking, and the silence makes complete sense. It isn't a confession, it's a calculation. But, and this is the honest cost, and I won't hide it from you, that calculation has a price. Because silence, whatever its wisdom, leaves the sorting undone. When no one ever answers, the claims never get separated out. The arguable, the unprovable, and the disproven all sit there together in one undifferentiated heap, year after year, with nobody of authority ever stepping in to say, this part stands, this part is. Rumor, this part is simply false. And that vacuum is exactly what gets filled. By the videos, by the compilations, by the 10 secrets she never wanted out, titles that scoop up the whole heap, mix it all together, and serve it as though every item carried equal weight. The silence that protects the Sussexes in the short term is the very thing that lets the muddle flourish in the long term, which is, in a way, why we're here. Somebody has to do the sorting, the principals never will, and that somebody today is us. So let me draw the 3 piles together and leave you with the one thing worth keeping from all of this. So let's lay the 3 piles side by side one last time and see what we've actually got. In the first pile, the claims with receipts, sit the serious, on-the-record allegations Lady C has made under her own name. That Meghan set out, deliberately, to become the most famous woman on earth. That the couple pursued commercial and political ambitions the royal world forbade. That they tried to bend the monarchy to their will, failed, and built their own kingdom in California instead. Unproven. Everyone, but argued openly by a named author with a real reputation on the line, and broadly matching what we all watched unfold. These you may weigh. In the second pile, the rumors, sit the claims that come not from Lady C herself, but from people she will not name, the whispers about Meghan and her mother. The anonymous individuals, the sources who risk nothing and can never be checked. Not lies, necessarily, but not evidence either. These you hold at arm's length. And in the third pile, the disproven, sits the most shocking claim of all. The one about surrogacy and faked births, lying flat on the floor next to the two official birth certificates that contradict it from two countries, both naming Meghan as the mother. Alongside it, the affair claim, examined and found to hold no truth. These you set down, and you do not carry them another inch. 3 piles, one name, and a world of difference between them. Now here's the thing I most want you to take away, and it has very little to do with Meghan or Lady C or any of them in the end. We live in a strange moment. There has never been more information, and there has never been less sorting of it. Anonymous sources, computer-read videos, dramatic titles designed to make you click before you think. It pours out faster than anyone can check it, all of it wearing the same confident voice, the true and the false and the unknowable dressed identically. And in that flood, the single most valuable thing a person can own is not more information. It's the habit of sorting it. And here's what I'll say to you, and I mean it as a compliment. That habit is one your generation has always had. The instinct to pause and ask the plain question, how do you know that? Who told you? Can it be checked? Is not old-fashioned. In this moment, it is the most modern and useful skill there is. Everything we did today, you already knew how to do. We just did it slowly and out loud and gave the piles their names. Because the truth about Lady C's claims was never that they're all false, and it was never that they're all true. The truth is that they're a mixture, and the whole game. The only game that matters is telling which is which. A named claim on the record is not the same as an unnamed whisper, and neither of them is the same as a story an official document has already flattened. Same subject. 3 completely different things. So the next time one of those videos slides across your screen, 10 secrets Meghan never wanted out, everything heaped together, all of it equally breathless, you'll know exactly what to do. You'll sort it. Receipts in one pile, rumor in another, anything the record contradicts on the floor. And what's left standing after that is the closest thing to the truth any of us are going to get. That's the real secret. If there is one, not something hidden in a palace. Just the quiet, unglamorous skill of knowing the difference. The skill you've had all along.